Season 1 of 2025. Let's see what sort of adventures that it has in store. And pace cars way through the corner. That wasn't the crest doing him dirty.
There right off the beginning is something you probably want to monopolize on right away, honestly, in a rain race.
Involved in that as well. Godin, I believe, is a newer racer. Oh, that's a big crash coming out of the corner. Renaissance mentioning all of those racers. That we saw him have that off-track moment not terribly long ago, and he has come back from a... And oh my god, that's a big wreck coming out of turn number 4. Multiple cars around. A little bit of contact going to Chris Montgomery as well. I saw that car kind of jerk around a little bit through that corner, but you can see Montgomery maybe got to size up a move on Colacio, as Colacio may try and get a move on. That is 5-6 cars covered by just about nothing on this racetrack. Nearly 4 wide through the corner. Look at Colacio going in way deep into turn 5. He's got to lose out on that spot on Chris Montgomery and maybe Colacio. Too long contact being... Weekly Formula Vee Weekend Warriors crash him up wreckfest at the checkered flag. May God have mercy on both Josh and I's graphics cards because the event does.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors. This is round number 11 of the season, coming to you today from Cadwell Park. My name is Maunz, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Joshua Wilkie. Josh, this season has absolutely flown by, but we're getting to the end now. We have just 2 races left to go from season 1 of 2025 here from the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors, and we got some championships still left to be decided. These drivers have a tough track to cut their teeth at today, but despite being hard, Cadwell is a super fun ride, ain't it, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. This is one of my personal favorites for sure. Definitely love this place. One of the nicer scans on iRacing too, I must say. It's a pretty good looking track out there as well, driving around and stuff. The graphics and kind of pops really nicely and stuff. Just a really, really nice track, but I always kind of felt like this place feels almost like a rally special stage or something, and it just sort of begs you to push and push and push and push harder and harder and harder until you kind of inevitably touch the grass and lose it. Or, you know, as we're watching, I believe this is Guido Marzucci here, into this corner, you can just dive into here and sort of use the ground for grip as it grabs the car. And there's all kinds of little elements like that around this track that you just kind of have to learn before you can really extract the time out of it. And man, it's just a fun track, Ron. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it is a super fun course. I think I've talked about this a lot in terms of some of the first few broadcasts I've done of races around Cadwell Park, primarily in the Weekend Warriors series as well, in the Weekend Warriors world, which is neither here nor there, but regardless, I've kind of talked about the fact that the most amount of seat time I've gone in terms of running races around Cadwell Park, it's actually on Project Cars 2. Have gotten the time to run it a lot on iRacing though, and this track is absolutely fantastic. It's an old school British track with 18 corners in all, and has some pretty storied history to it as well, which I think I'll be touching on a lot throughout this broadcast, mainly because that's usually what I do, yapping about some sort of history relating to whatever track we're visiting at. But currently in this practice session, as it stands at the moment, these drivers trying to get their bearing straight of this place, and I will note that we've got an all Brit Front two, Ethan Orr and James Matthew Sheldon slide in first and second, both of them being Spec 2 drivers as well. Interesting that I let it off talking about the fact they were both British drivers, not even mentioning the fact that they're both Spec 2 drivers. This season has seen a lot of upsets, and Ethan Orr was probably the biggest upset of them all, flashing back to the Thruxton race earlier on in the season, where he was able to grab the overall win as a Spec 2 driver. That, I believe, was for round number 5 of this season. So you have to go back a bit over a month to find that win for Ethan Orr, but that doesn't mean he hasn't gotten close to replicating that feat in the past throughout this season. In fact, this is a rather fun stat for all of you tuning into this broadcast. This season here for the Weekend Warriors has seen a non-Spec 1 driver win in both the and not only the Formula V's, not only the Formula Fords, but the Spec Racer Fords as well. Been a really good season, and the Formula V's, just based off the fact we had that brilliant race at Summit 1 week ago, Josh, the Formula V's have probably been the top of the top when it comes to entertainment. These Saturdays have been fun.
Yeah, honestly, this season, it's crazy to think we're actually at round 12 right now. First of all, it's super whipped by really fast, and I think that's probably because the racing was so good. The V's have really put on a good show this season, and we've had kind of a mixed field here and there. This is actually one of the smaller fields, and I'm assuming this is just because it is a pay track. It's kind of new. Not everybody owns it yet. It takes a little bit of time to learn this one as well, but man, we've had some huge grids and stuff this season as well, and a really good mix of drivers. And also, we've kept, a solid core of drivers for almost every race, and that's always going to just provide some really good racing. People getting to know each other out there and what moves they're going to make and how they're going to make them and so on. And we've just seen a lot of really respectful, really exciting racing, especially the last round there with the 4 wide crossing the line there at the end at Summit Point. Just amazing stuff.
And I will note, as we are following Tortello, the driver of the number 1 car, who is looking to try and win his second straight Spec 1 championship here this season. He was involved in that heart-pumping 4-wide photo finish right at the line 1 week ago at Summit Point. And after this broadcast wraps, if any of you have the urge to ride on board with Tortello and his perspective of the last round of this championship at Summit Point, you can click on the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel and take a look at the first ever episode of the Driver's Eye Show, riding on board with Tortello and his perspective in that barn burner of a race 1 week ago for round number 10 here of the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Thankfully, we got one more race to go after that coming at VIR, and that's going to be a really good one. But switching our attention to Summit Point and following York Monty, who's been the janitor, as our SMB colleague Mr. Randall McGrew has called him all throughout this season, let's do a quick little onboard lap with the driver of the 925 car, the Masters man, who's been the master of this season, heading his way down this start-finish straightaway. Not really straight, but still fast into turn number 1. This fast opening series of corners in these Formula V's been just about flat out. You have to lick the stamp and send it, go full commitment as the track dips away from you into turn number 3. Oh boy, look at that car stopped on the outside and it gets to turn number 3. That is not ideal at all. Usually carry a lot more speed coming out there onto this back straightaway. This is the longest flat out blast on this racetrack by far, careening our way down into the heavy braking zone of turn number 4. This is a good overtaking opportunity that we're going to be seeing drivers use in this race, and even the Spec Racer Fords coming up this weekend here on SMB. Now carrying the momentum through turn at number 5. We're about to enter the mid-sector of this racetrack. This first half of the lap feels completely different than the second half. You'll see why in a couple of moments as York Monty spins it coming through the 6 and 7 chicane. That's there's our track guide. Actually, no, we can do reverse track guide. Backs it up into the runoff area of turn number 8. So that's a half track guide. I gotta say, that turn 6 and 7 section really tough to try and nail down. So
yeah, it really is.
That catch
Honestly,
out a lot of drivers.
It's a really good spot there. That actually, it's kind of cool that we saw that right there, actually, because that spot it's going to get a lot of drivers. That whole area coming down the hill, as you said, there is just it feels like a different course starts basically right there, and you start coming down that hill. There's a big moment where you just kind of lose a bunch of weight on the car, and it looks like that's where it probably got Monty there. The rear end just got a bit light on him, and he dumped it. And that's exactly what happens there. You keep trying to push and push and push over that hill, and you just do it a little bit too fast once. Don't get on the clappers just enough, and that was it. Probably touched the curb. A little bit of a spin there. It looks like we have Trent Kramer hanging out on the edge of a barrier here. Pretty odd.
Oh, and that is between turns number 8 and turn number 11. That section that you can see right there technically have 2 corners baked into it. The first small little meandering right-handed kink, that's turn 9, and oh, wow, that looks like an unfixable situation. He's gunned in 4th gear. Yeah, jammed up. He's like caught inside the track and outside the race. How the hell did he manage this? I do not know.
I think he was hoping that we found him there, and we did. So there we go. It looks like we are switching over to our qualifying session here now, Ron.
I can move off into qualifying and maybe go for take 2 potentially in terms of showing you the run around this racetrack. Should be noted, I talked about this track having the old school feel. Just look at that pit lane. It is small. And I will also note the fact this is not the first time a lot of these drivers have gotten the chance to run around this racetrack. It was part of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors season earlier on this season 1 of 2025 here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And the Spec Racer Ford is going to be making their appearance here on Sunday. And even these Formula V's made their appearance here for the Week 13, actually technically it was Week 14 runoffs here on Slow Motion Broadcasting back in December. So the Formula V's made their appearance here back then, and I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, that was a 30-minute long race too. So not the first time in the grand scheme of things that these Formula V drivers have run here. However, the first time it's been a part of a point-paying schedule. And we got 2 more races left to go. Of course, this one here tonight and VIR in 1 week's time, running on the shortened North course to be a bit more precise. So that's how it's looking for the remainder of this season. That should be noted as we are starting this qualifying session that today's broadcast of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting is brought to you by Mark Cohn and the joy of driving. Mark Cohn, one of the drivers in this series. We would like to thank Mark for making this broadcast possible today here on SMB. As we see these drivers hit the racetrack for this 15-minute long qualifying session, a solo session, so these drivers have the track all to their lonesome, and they have 4 laps to try and get the job done. 4 laps around a racetrack like this. We're expecting pole times to be around the high 230s, 130s, I should say. Ethan Orr was the fastest driver in practice earlier on with a 1:38.015. So that's how it was looking for him. And York Monty was a little bit slower in that practice session, but let's try and re-rack this again. We're going to pretend that nothing happened in the early stages. Let's do an onboard lap with York Monty in the 925 car, heading his way down into turn number 1. This not-so-straight start-finish straightaway, really fast. These cars at terminal velocity, heading down into turn number 1, now into 2, cresting the hill and trying to get the best run possible coming out of turn number 3. Just kissing that inside curve and hitting the outside one a little bit to get the most amount of speed you can going onto this back straightaway. The longest flat-out blast around the entirety of this lap before you have to drop those anchors and slam on the brakes. Heading off into turn number 4, hitting the brakes right about now, rather late, rather deep on the brakes right before that turn-in sign. York Monty, full commitment. Now, this is turn number 5. You can still see the elevation change. A big appearance as it stands at the moment in this lap, heading down into the 6 and 7 chicane. This exit is so sketchy. You can hear him coasting midway through the corner, and you can't necessarily blame him. This is a real tough spot. That's turn number 8 at the bottom end of the hill, going through that braking zone on what feels like a 35-degree pitch off. That is real tough through turn number 9 into turn number 10 right now. Now into the pit lane area of the racetrack, the first half of the circuit. That's turn number 11 and 12 that we just saw Monty go through right there. Cresting the hill in faster cars, you would get air in these Formula V's. Not the case. Heading off now through the slalom section. That's turn 13, 14 into 15 into turn 16 right now. Finally ending off with a hairpin of turn number 17. Only one more corner left to go around this racetrack, and that is the downhill, always tough right-hander of turn number 18. This track opened all the way back in 1961, is a staple of British motorsports, and these Formula V's, which are some old-school quintessential race cars, looking to put on a good one here at this old-school quintessential racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. That was a pretty good lap from Monty there as well. Kind of, you know, this place just kind of begs you to go faster and faster and faster and faster until you kind of blow it. Once you get into the race, you kind of need to just pull that back a little bit, at least for the first little while. We'll see kind of how it is with the V's. It's a little different maybe because of the drafting, and it's not quite the same as racing around here in the FF or the SRF. I think we'll probably see hopefully a little bit of restraint for a bit, because it's, man, you're really fighting the track around here, honestly. it's really easy to make a mistake track-wise. So it's going to be fighting the track and just making sure you can keep yourself clean until the end of the race and just hope you have a chance to make a pass somewhere. Not an easy place to pass either, Ron. This probably being one of the best spots here as we see Antonio Reese come down the mountain.
And the elevation change, a huge factor of this racetrack, which is, I feel kind of bad saying it. It's not something you see a whole lot when it comes to UK tracks. The vast majority of them, you either got a case like this track built all the way back in 1961, where it kind of just feels like someone's big plot of land that decided to build a racetrack on, and then you've got the other ones where it's old school British racetracks built on former RAF bases. So you got a racetrack like this where you got some elevation change. Brands Hatch is kind of the same. Then you've got tracks like Thruxton, Snetterton, Silverstone as well, ones where you don't have a whole lot of elevation change around. It doesn't mean it's a bad circuit by any means, though, as the UK home to some of my favorite racetracks in the world, and some of these drivers looking to have the best time that they can in this qualifying session. James Matthew Sheldon, the Spec 2 driver in the 108 car, currently holding on to the provisional poles that stands at the early moment, already a third of the way into this qualifying session, saying a 138.4. Meanwhile, in P3 and P4, it's Jason Green and Tortullo. Tortullo, technically speaking, does have the opportunity to lock up that Spec 1 championship. Unfortunately, due to technical issues, we will not be able to get the other points loaded up for you here this evening. But take it in good faith that Tortullo has a really good shot to seal the deal. Jason Green was in the catbird seat to hold on to that championship. However, in the mid-season, things didn't really work out for him well. And after Tortullo took that 2-week break, he came back in style. He won at Sebring, and he, of course, took the checkered flag 1 week ago at Summit Point. I nearly said Brands Hatch. That was the opening race of this season. But with that win at Brands Hatch, no, God dang it. The win at Summit Point, there we go. 1 week ago, he was able to do it. It took me long enough. I think mixing up Summit Point and Brands Hatch, that's
so many races
that's a pretty odd mix-up to have.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, yeah, maybe it is actually. They're a little bit different than each other for sure.
Yeah,
it's one of those things again.
For me, Josh.
It's one of those things again. You know what? I just kind of brain farted again that Summit Point's in the States. I always, for some reason, revert to Summit Point being in the UK. It feels like a UK track to me, but it's just not. It's not a UK track. I have to try to remind myself of that. It is an American track. It's not a UK track. But yeah, no, not really much of a comparison there. And this one is very unique, like you were saying, Ron. Like with all its undulation and everything, it's, most of the British tracks that I'm used to, at least anyway, are fairly flat, and this one's really not. It feels like a special stage. I believe that most of the time this place is used as a time attack. I don't think you do a ton of racing around here in a lot of machinery. I believe it was originally built for motorcycles, which it is just wild if you've ever watched a motorcycle race around here. It's unbelievable. It's the same thing with the car races, but motorcycles around here are pretty nuts, but very unique track for sure.
I gotta say, talking about this racetrack and how small it is, you see these Formula V's, they seem massive around a racetrack like this, which is really saying something, because a Formula V is basically the closest thing you can get to a go-kart on iRacing. And speaking of go-karts, interestingly enough, the lap record around Cadwell Park was actually set in a go-kart. It was Sam Moss at the 2021 British Superkart round here at Cadwell that managed to set the lap record of a 1 minute 21.036 in a Division 1 Superkart. Those things always kind of terrified me, and this is coming from someone who, from ages of 8 all the way up to 18, was driving in various levels of karts, including shifter karts in my final few years of running and karting. Those things are always super quick, and the fact they're even quicker than these Formula V's are absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, actually. I've been around here, I think in the SRF, my best time's just edging on a 130.8 or something like that, 130.9. So to beat that by, that is a wild margin. And flying around here in a go-kart with your limbs exposed and everything, that's just wild to me. So yeah, those karts are crazy, and to be able to push it that hard around here with barriers and stuff is pretty scary. But it is kind of like a time attack course like that. So I would imagine they do a lot of racing like that around here.
And right now, these drivers attacking the times as best as they possibly can in this qualifying session. Now over halfway through, just 6 minutes left to go. Should be no James Matthew Sheldon still finds himself on the provisional pole as a Spec 2 driver. Ethan Orr, another Spec 2 driver, set to join him on the front row as it stands at the present moment. Tortella is slotted in third currently. Trent Kramer in fourth. Nate Colasio and Jason Green rounding out your front three rows as it stands currently. York Monty and Antonio Reese making an all-Masters fourth row. Chris Montgomery and Guido Marzucchi completing the top 10 as it stands at the present moment in this qualifying session. Not the most amount of drivers we've seen out here on the race course. Only 22 drivers out there currently. 23 in the session. Scott Brailer, who we saw 1 week ago at Summit Point. He is, I believe, out there at the moment. He has to set a qualifying time, though, as I believe his first couple of laps have been invalidated. I think he's going to cross the line in a couple of moments' time, though, in the 210 car. And let's see if he'll be able to get on the board and make it 23 cars set to grab the green flag in the not-too-far-off future here on SMB. Crosses the line now. Did that count as a time? Survey says I don't think it did.
Bummer. Yeah, he must have off-tracked, perhaps. Easy to do around here, that's for sure. And it looks like he'll have enough time here to hopefully get another one in. But yeah, it looks like maybe he's going to make it in here. Scott Brailer, do we have him classified? Yes, we do, as S2, so that's great. I don't remember him from earlier in the season, Ron. Do we have a placement on this guy at all? Do we know what place he's in or where he's finished before? He seems new.
I believe at the very least... Yeah, sorry, don't worry, it's quite all right. I was in the midst of swallowing a sip of water as you pass it off to me, but I believe Brailer was out on the racetrack at Summit Point 1 week ago. Don't think we've seen him outside of that, albeit that's my memory. I can name every F1 champion without looking at Wikipedia or anything back to, at the very least, the start of the 80s. I could not tell you where my keys are, though, at the present moment, so my brain is a very odd thing from time to time. It's usually just TV static going on up there. So I believe he was out on track 1 week ago. Not sure if he's joined us for any of the previous races, though, but nevertheless, the 210 car currently in 23rd, the last of the drivers classified at the moment, having not set a time thus far in this qualifying session. Travis Rowe in the 284 car is currently your slowest qualifier. He's in the pit, so I don't believe he will be improving on that lap time. Pretty close to the front of the field, though, with the front three of Tullo, Orr, and Sheldon covered by 0.110 of a second. That is mightily close, with only 15 thousandths between Ethan Orr and Tortella. But across the line for Scott Brailer, he finally sets the time and jumps his way up to P19.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad for a first lap out there. Came into the session a bit late. Those tires warmed up. I would imagine he's going to get a better lap here. We're hearing in chat, actually, that Mr. Brailer here is actually a real-life Vee driver. So always pretty cool to see some real-life drivers out there. At least for me, it's interesting to be to see how they handle the sim, you know, and how fast they are. And I always like to kind of match myself up to it and go, you know, I wonder if I could beat him in sim, you know, the real driver kind of thing. And it's always fun if you can, you know, if you can get out there and test one of the real drivers. One of the beauties of this series is that you are mixed up, you know, with real drivers and some sim drivers, and then just kind of your, you know, your weekend warrior, as the title explains there. All kinds of people out there racing, and every once in a while you get nose to tail with a real V driver or a real FF driver or a real SRF driver, and it's pretty cool, you know, at the end of the day when you can say you beat one, or even that you just had a good battle with one. It's pretty cool stuff.
And just looking through all the drivers that we've got in the grid as it stands at the present moment. P3, we got Tortolo, of course, a reigning champion here from the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors, has a really good shot to make it his third championship and a second in a row as Brailer spins coming out of the turn 11 and 12 chicane. You got him, who drives in real-life Formula Vee machinery, and I think we asked him 1 week ago, I believe this is a track he's driven at in real life. The American-born driver currently living in the UK who races under a Japanese flag because he did live there a couple of years ago, I believe, finds himself in third, does drive some Formula Vee machinery in real life, very fast. Trent Kramer as well, who are following at the moment in the number 20 car, saw him pulling off a move that you'd only see in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 a couple of moments ago in the practice session between turns number 8 and 11. He actually campaigns some minis in real life and puts them together for people to drive. And a part of Weekend Warriors royalty, that being Megan Overstreet, actually got an opportunity to drive one of those minis at, I believe it was the Waterford Hills Road Racing Circuit up there in Detroit. Metro Detroit's only road racing circuit. That's a joke that only Mr. Wilkie and I will get. We will not elaborate on that comment any further, but a different broadcaster that will not be mentioned by name. But currently, got a lot of drivers in this grid, some of which who are Formula Vee Weekend Warriors, or just Weekend Warriors staples, period, and some other drivers who've got some experience to drive some real-life machinery quite extensively. Michelle Lynn in the 215 car, currently qualified in lucky number P13, is one of them. She's driven quite a lot of Formula car machinery. Seen some of the old videos that she had up on her YouTube channel of some of the other racing adventures that she had, running up at Pocono, Lime Rock. I believe we talked to her earlier on this season. Come time for the New Hampshire races, Trent Kramer augers straight into the barrier on the outskirts of turn number 4.
Yikes.
Talking with Michelle earlier on, I believe her final ever real life race was done at New Hampshire quite a couple of years ago, unless my memory serves me correctly. I believe it was in the early 2010s, if my memory serves me correctly. Michelle can fact check us later on after this broadcast is said and done. I think this qualifying session is just about said and done. The power of me yapping about whatever the hell I've been yapping about the past couple of minutes, already bringing us to the end of this qualifying session, and this is going to be a rather good race. We got some long straight line blasts, and thankfully we've got a longer pace lap than we did at Summit Point 1 week ago, so I won't have to blow my vocal cords out getting through 36 starters in the span of about 30 seconds. Yeah, it was impressive. I felt like I was speaking like a cattle auctioneer, though. James Matthew Sheldon in the 108 car going to be starting this race from the pole. Ethan Orr going to join him on the front row. I'd like to apologize. I said Ethan Orr was a Brit earlier on in the show. No, he's not. He's firmly American, but the 222 car going to be starting this race in P2 as a Spec 2 driver. Holy cow. Tortello will start this race in 3rd, next to Trent Kramer in 4th. Nate Colascio will find himself starting this race in P5, next to Jason Green in 6th. We have York Monty in P7, Antonio Reese in P8, Chris Montgomery in 9th, and Guido Marzuki going to round out your top 10.
Yeah, and then our Spec 2 driver of Parvinder Ladar in P11, Suleiman Khan in P12, Michelle Lynn in P13, Kurt Nunez in P14, Jim Brewster in P15, Jason Grider in P16, Russell Telker in P17, Jesus A. Rodriguez in 18th, Scott Brayler in 19th, Sander Verbruge in 20th, John Thompson 21st, Nick Tolo in 22nd, and Travis Rail in 23rd, bringing around the end of the field.
And that is our starting grid for this race that we have coming up. You can see the sun peeking through the clouds around this racetrack, and these drivers set to get this race underway. A race which has a lot of implications when it comes to the championship. We've talked about this thus far. Tortello, if some sort of catastrophe befalls Jason Green, the 160 car, he may be able to walk away from this race with another Spec 1 championship. We also have to talk about Spec 2, which has been up and down class all throughout. James Matthew Sheldon and Ethan Orr going to give us a really good battle to talk about there. In the Masters category, Jörg Monty has it just about sealed up, unless my memory is failing me at this specific point in time. He's going to be starting this race in 7th overall, top of the Masters racers, and let's see how things are going to shake out for the man who's been called the janitor thus far this season. See these drivers already rolling about to begin this formation lap, and give us a brief little period of time to get our bearings straight before what's going to be 30 minutes of rather intense racing.
Yeah, for sure, Ron. This is not an easy place to race around. It's like I said earlier, you're fighting the track as well as your competitors out there, and it takes a lot of respect for the people around you and really kind of making passes happen. You need a passing partner, basically, around here for the most part. Somebody who's going to kind of see you coming and think better of it, sort of deal. Either that or you just have to dive it. And man, we're about to get started here, Ron. This should be a good one.
That it certainly will. The second to last race of this Formula Vee Weekend Warriors season, already carred down the pits. I believe that's Sander Verbruge, but nevertheless, the green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way, heading down that start-finish straightaway off into turn number 1. These drivers have only one goal when it comes to negotiating the first sector of this lap, and that is to survive. Doesn't matter if you lose some spots, just make it through clean, and you're going to be golden. Let's see some side-by-side racing, single filing out between Tortello and Ethan Orr. That's going to allow Tolo to
to slip his way up into second. James Matthew Sheldon leading this race. The local to Cadwell Park finds himself leading and heading out of turn at number 3. But look at that, Tortello in that one car. Going to try and move up to P1. He's going to be on the outside line, heading off into turn number 4 through the heavy braking zone. Let's see if he'll be able to get this move done. Oh, Matthew Sheldon fighting back on the inside line. James Sheldon getting that move done to slip his way up into the race lead. Some side-by-side racing still going on, involving Ethan Orr and Trent Kramer. You also got Nate Colacio and Jason Green nose to tail right behind.
Yeah, not too bad here. We're super clean here so far. You can see, it's really hard to get side by side here, and we're seeing a lot of respect out of the drivers. Like I was saying, this is a place you need to give some room. You need to make sure you know that person's beside you when they're coming, or it will end in disaster. There's not a lot of room out there. You're either going to touch a wheel or the grass or something bad. You just don't want to do that. You want to make sure that everything's nice and clean, and it looks like so far we're doing pretty good. See if we can get a couple jumps. Everybody getting 4 wheels off the ground through the jump section there. Pretty cool stuff. Looks like we lost someone off the side there. Not sure who that was. It may have been, I know we lost Michelle Lynn a little bit earlier there. Looks like Ethan Orr is falling down. That was Ethan Orr. He's up against the barrier in our shot right there, Ron, from the lead almost.
I think there's another moment of drama heading off through turn number 11 and 12. I saw a driver spin off into the barrier, but Ethan Orr having a terrible run of things heading off through the S's. That's going to take him out of contention, dropping now down to 23rd. Last place of the driver still out there on the racetrack. We'll note the driver who started this race from the pits, the 433 car of Sander Verbruge, now finds himself up in P17. Michelle Lynn, Jim Brewster ran into some difficulties. Brewster, I believe, was the car that spun through turn number 11 and 12. However, don't quote me on that entirely. I think Michelle had a moment through 2 and 3 at the very start of this race. Jason Green got off to a terrible start. Not sure what happened to the driver of the 160 car. He now finds himself in 21st. That has some huge implications with the championship. I think because of the fact that his main championship rival finds himself 19 spots back. Tortello not really pushing the issue when it comes to the fight with himself and Sheldon.
Yeah, you would think, as long as he knows, as long as he's noticed now that that Jason's not kind of in the fight, this is not the time to start pushing too hard and end up out of the race. You can basically finish anywhere now, and he'll have the championship. That being said, I have a feeling Tor's going to fight for it anyway, Ron. He's out there to have some fun. He's out there to race. I have a feeling he's going to push it. He wants to beat James Sheldon. I'm pretty sure that he wants to beat him today, and I think that's what he's going to go for it all. But we'll try to catch up to some replays here once we can get through some of this action, because there's quite a few things to get to here. We lost Michelle Lynn. We lost Jim Brewster, Ethan Orr. It looks like something's happened to Jason Green, so I'm going to do my best to get us our replays here as soon as I can, but things are kind of starting to space out a little bit now. Looks like we might be able to take a breather and have a look soon. As I say that, and it looks like Nunez just got a move done, or got one done on him by Jason Grider here, but man, pretty interesting first lap.
Yeah, very interesting beginning of this race now with 3 laps on the board. James Sheldon still leading over Tortello, Trent Kramer. Rounding out your podium in third as it stands at the present moment. York Monty, your current Masters leader, is slotted in P5, quite a long ways back of this 4-car pack that is broken away from the rest of the field. Look at that, Tortello trying to get that move done down the inside into turn number 4, nearly running off into the dirt in the process. But here we go, heading down into the braking zone of 4. Sheldon still on the outside line, Tolo on the inside. And let's see, looks like James Matthew Sheldon going to hold off that challenge from Tortello for now. As much as Tortello finds himself in a position where he can lock up the championship, I gotta say, I'm with you there, Josh. It's much more satisfying to be able to seal the deal in regards to the championship with a win instead of a P2 finish. It just has that nice aura to it. As I think Guido Marzucchi has been struck by a falling anvil. The number 19 car currently be classed in 23rd. He's in the pits too, so something must have gone wrong for him.
Yeah, looks like we lost another one. We'll do our best to kind of catch up to these replays here as soon as we can, but yeah, it's looking like he's pretty pointy out there. I can imagine he definitely wants to get around. He wants to get around Sheldon for sure there, Ron. I don't think he's going to be waiting around much today at all, going for it here. And by the looks of it, that's exactly what he's doing. We saw a move there from Sheldon, just would not give the place up just before coming down the hill. I've kind of brain farting the actual name of that corner right now. I believe it is, let me see here. I'm going to look at my track map and actually have a look at it. I believe that was coming down into Gooseneck or just before, or Chris Curve. And he actually went too wide through there as they're doing it again into T1. So they are racing out there, Ron. That's an indication for sure that nobody's waiting around. They're taking risks. And, it's just awesome for us to watch.
Yeah, these drivers still battling hard, despite the fact they're still very early on into this race. Haven't even ticked over this, well, just barely ticked over the 6th of the way through this race mark. Side-by-side racing with Tortolo and James Matthew Sheldon. Heading down into turn number 4, feel like we're going to be calling out side-by-side racing with these two quite a lot heading off through that corner. Sheldon going to slip his way back into the race lead. Tolo slipping back down to the 2nd. Trent Kramer and Nate Colacio, the final 2 cars involved in this battle. Not sure if they're going to get involved or... I feel like the good strategy for Trent Kramer and Nate Colacio would maybe to let these two battle hard and just, stay within striking distance in case they come to blows.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would be doing right now, for sure. You know these two guys are pretty much the fastest drivers of the field, minus maybe 1 or 2 guys that can kind of poke up there every once in a while, depending on what track we're visiting. But these guys are always fast, so you just have to know, if I can stay with them, I have a chance. And that's all you should really be thinking out there, I think, if you're Trent and Colacio. If I can stay in this line, I have a chance. And you just want to stay alive. You don't want to try to pass anybody. You don't want to try to do anything new into a corner, or maybe I can go a little faster here. Just make sure you're staying in this line till the end. And then you never know. It was a long race around Cadwell Park. 30 minutes is a long time around here. Anything can happen. Mistakes are so easy to make. One tiny little mistake, and both of those drivers are all over these two. So that's exactly what I would be thinking as well, Ron.
And as we continue to see this race develop, should be noted that Sander Verbruge has made the call to come back into the pits. He started this race from pit lane, made his way up the running order. However, that 433 car back in the pits, dropping down to 21st, and will be dropping back down to 22nd momentarily. That was a rather funky camera angle. I think we saw the Shadow Demon version of these race cars underneath the circuit there. That was trippy. Not sure what was going on there. John Toms also ran into... Oh, okay, he's popped back into existence. I was just going to say that John Toms in the 277 car was dropping down the running order and was marked as being out of it. And that was a brief little technical issue for him, so no harm or foul done there. Jason Green has made his way up to P16, and with that being said, let's take a look at some replays to see the very hectic start of this race. This was a moment for Michelle Lynn, and it was... I wouldn't say entirely self-inflicted. I think she was checking up to try and avoid contact with the car right in front of her, but losing it. Coming through turn number 3, that's going to send her off into the grass, and that is not going to be the way that the Philadelphian behind the wheel of the 215 car Philly represents wanted to do there at all. There's a rhyme or reason as to why Michelle Lynn runs a 215 car. I don't think she'll take offense at me saying this. As we see Jim Brewster losing it, coming out of turn number 11 into 12. It's the barrier. He nearly ended up... I think he got some airtime there as well. That looked like a rather substantial hit into the tire barrier as we see the moment for Ethan Orr in the 222 car. Heading off through the slalom section, hits that curb, loses it, and bang, into the wall. That's a huge hit for him. I think there may have been a moment for Jason Green a couple of moments thereafter, which is part of the reason why he's down into 16th. As we see this moment for Jason Green, there you can see Orr going off the track. So he's like thinking, hey, made up another spot. And I think he got punted.
Yeah, you got a bit of help there from one of the Masters drivers, I believe. I can't tell. I believe that's Antonio Reese. Yes, it is. Antonio Reese looks like he got into the back of Jason there, and they just kind of sat there, waited for everybody to go by. And, man, that's just really unfortunate for Jason today. That is going to end his chances most likely at a championship. So, very unfortunate for Jason there.
Yeah, that is real tough. And, it's all part of racing. Stuff like that can happen, but still is a little bit frustrating when it tends to happen to you. Back up at the front of the field, though, and following Tortolo, your race leader in front of James Sheldon, the 108 car slotted in P2. Now, to those who are rather astute viewers here to the Weekend Warriors series, you may see the fact that James Matthew Sheldon is campaigning this race in the 108 car and thinking he should be a Spec 1 driver. No, he is a Spec 2 driver. So he is, as it stands this week. I think there may potentially be some modifications made come time for Season 2 of 2025, because he is certainly showing some Spec 1 pace, battling with the other top 3 at the moment in Spec 1, as I think Russ Telker may have had a moment. He's dropping down the running order in the 260 car. Oh, it was himself and John Toms coming to blows there. That was drama heading off into the 11 and 12 chicane.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's too bad I didn't stick with that there for a moment. Right on them, and it looks like, unfortunately, we've had a bit of a contact here. You can kind of feel these things coming sometimes like that. I see this just pack of cars. We're just about that time in the race. It's getting a bit froggy out there. Let's see what happened. Yeah, so we have just, a little bit too late on the brakes there from Tom's by the looks of it, and sort of the accordion effect into Russell Telker. Unfortunate because, it looks like we lost Grider there up against the wall as well, Ron. We missed that, but looks like he's out as well.
I think Jason Grider may have gotten a piece of that drama as well. Just a piece of drama regardless. A piece of cake is fine. A piece of drama, not ideal for these drivers. Scott Brailer, Russ Telker, currently out of it. Jason Grider in the pits. Guido Marzuki has decided to call it a day in the 19 car as we see the side-by-side racing single file out through the 6 and 7 chicane. James Matthew Sheldon now finds himself back into the race lead. Tortello slotted P2. Trent Kramer and Nate Colicio still occupying P3 and P4 respectively. The gap between themselves and Jörg Monty still rather expansive. Could just barely see Monty on the back. A shot from my perspective as he was exiting turn number 8. So these front 4 have just broken away to form a race all of their own.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the way it's going to go around here. You know, saying in the run-up, you're kind of racing the track around here. You're fighting the track. It's you know, if you put a ton of laps in here and you can actually start to make this place start to feel comfortable, you're going to have a huge advantage. You know, come 15, 20 minutes into the race, I believe tomorrow in the SRFs, it's 40 minutes around here. That's a long time. You really have to kind of mentally prepare for it and know that, okay, I'm only about 10 minutes in here. I got a long way to go. And you need to, you know, you need to kind of drive around that. You need to pull back a little bit and not push quite so hard. And it's just really, really easy to make a mistake in 30 or 40 minutes around here, as we've seen lots of drivers do. And if you can stay up front like this and not make mistakes and kind of make the track easy for yourself, honestly, just by doing lap after lap after lap and kind of finding your groove around here. So we see Tortello going too wide again. I'm surprised at how much these guys are racing back and forth, and that really just goes to show their skill level. Real good drivers out there.
Yeah, it shows their skill level and also shows you that in a series like the Weekend Warriors, just the entirety of the Weekend Warriors world, a lot of these drivers have been racing with each other for quite some time. I mean, Josh, I'm going to use you as an example, and I hope you don't mind.
Not at all.
I mean, for the first couple of seasons that you're in the Weekend Warriors, you're primarily running in the Spec Racer Fords. Then you made the switch over to the Formula Fords for season 3, I believe it was, of 2024, right after a interesting series of events went down, whereby the Weekend Warriors are now with a broadcast that actually gives a rat's ass about them. No, I can say that. I've got like 9 more shows with them left to go, and then that's probably it. Some of you may get who I'm talking about, but we'll not mention them by name. James Matthew Sheldon taking some creative liberties with the track limits, heading off to the slalom section. It's not actually called the slalom section. It's just my autocrossing background, autocorrecting to slalom. But it's a good name, don't it? It's like either that or the snake.
Yeah. Especially with the little floppies there, it should be called the slalom section for sure. I actually used to downhill ski race. When I was a kid, believe it or not, I was on a team called the Gate Sharks long before I started snowboarding, and actually got sponsored for that too. But yeah, we used to smack the gates down with your shins and with your arms. You wear pads on them and stuff, and that's pretty much what you're doing here with the car. You're just whapping those floppies and to get the proper line there. If they were actually real in iRacing, they would be in tatters by the second lap, and the car would be battered from it. But they're not, and you just kind of go through them, and it's a little bit silly if you ask me, but that's what it is. I'm not really sure in real life how they do that, if they're allowed to just drive straight through them like we do here, or if they just remove them altogether. I'm not really sure, but a bit of a strange one there, but not an easy track run at all.
You know, it used to be a joke back when I was still doing my autocrossing stuff. I mentioned my racing background. I used to run karts with the Sports Car Club of America and the autocross side of things, as you see side-by-side racing with Jason Green and Parvin Ladar. Credit due to Jason Green, the fact he's made his way up to 9th. This is still probably going to be the end of his challenge for the championship to Tortello here, but still valiant effort to make his way back up into the top 10 as it stands at the present moment. But the point I was going to mention is it used to be a little bit of a joke in the autocross circles of if anyone would just go out on track and try and hit as many cones as they possibly could on a single run. I did that, but I did unintentionally. So one time, it was the 2021 SCCA Solo Nationals down in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you only get 3 runs out there. So usually, when it comes to some of the regional events here in the Philly region, 5 or 6 runs. You use it first to kind of get your bearings straight, and then you can really start to push it. At the national events, though, you got to push it right off the bat, and this was about 24 hours after my entire front suspension just blew up in my kart at 70 miles an hour and made me come to a stop in 90 feet, which is neither here nor there. On my second run, I whacked a cone. out there. So in autocross with the SCCA, that's a 2-second time penalty. Then I was like, you know what? I want to push it. There's nothing that I can lose. I may as well just go for it. The run after that, I knocked down 9. So coming back into the pits after that run, my dad high-fived me and said, "Congratulations, bud, you knocked out the spare." So shows you the attitude that me and Dad had when it came to racing.
Yeah, that's good. You got to have fun out there for sure. Something I missed out on, unfortunately. Living in Canada, I obviously love my country, great, beautiful country and everything, but lots of wide open space and not a whole lot of racetracks, unfortunately. I usually had to kind of come up with my own speed. I put skis on, I put snowboards on, and went as fast as I possibly could everywhere I possibly could. Didn't really have a chance, unfortunately, to get too much stuff like that done. Oh, as we saw Sheldon there, look up the inside into there. That was, those are the kind of moves, Ron, that you're basically, what you're trying to do is intimidate the person in front of you. You're trying to get him to make a mistake. You're trying to put a nose up the inside. You never intended to actually make that pass happen. But you're trying to get that nose up inside so Trenton looks in his rearview mirror and makes a mistake. And, it's going to be hard to make Trenton do something like that, but Sheldon's certainly going to try, as we saw right there.
Yeah, just spooking your competitors. That's exactly what it is. In these races, considering how short they are in the grand scheme of the Weekend Warriors, those 40-minute long Sunday races, which, by the way, you can catch every single Sunday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Well, that's subtle plug, not so subtle plug, out of the way, about as slick as 80 grit sandpaper. The 30-minute long races here for the Formula Vees, they feel like they go by a lot quicker than those Sunday Weekend Warriors races. You don't have to worry about a pit stop. It's just 30 minutes of racing, battling, racing, dealing with the racetrack, trying not to crash, racing. It feels like these races go by a lot quicker than those 40-minute long races. It may not seem like much, but those 10 minutes can make a big difference in those small little pea brains that we all have as humans.
Yeah, definitely, Ron. That 40 minutes, when you first start iRacing, you start at about the 15-minute mark-ish, around there, and races are about 15 minutes, and you start to think to yourself in the beginning, like, I'm not going to be able to do an hour. This is crazy. Well, once you actually get into it anyway. And then you can kind of, you move your bracket up. You get to the half an hour, and you kind of start to wrap your head around that. And then you go to the 40, and then an hour. And those extra 10 minutes, extra 15 minutes on top of it feel like a whole entire another race. At the beginning, at least. It feels so much longer than it actually is. The mental capacity that you need to have to be able to finish a race 60 minutes, especially like this, 30 minutes with somebody right on your butt the entire race, and you're pushing super hard. And it's not easy. I guarantee you, even though we're sim racing, even though there's no G-force out there, they're sweating right now in their sim rigs getting this done. The mental capacity it takes, the mental fortitude it takes basically to get this done is a lot more than some people give it credit for sure.
Yeah, these drivers have a lot riding on their minds throughout these 30-minute long races. Got to think of battling, got to think of keeping your car out on the track. And these Formula V cars, I got to say, at least from my perspective as an iRacer, every single time I've gotten the opportunity to drive these cars, they feel a little bit counterintuitive at certain points. I'm trying to remember now. I believe it's between second and third gear. It feels like you're switching to a completely different transmission. The difference in ratios is so big, so kind of creates an odd driving experience where sometimes you don't want to downshift, and a lot of times in these low-powered, draft-heavy and momentum-based Formula Vs, you don't want to slow down into some of these corners. In fact, the brakes can be your worst enemy. Side-by-side racing going on with Tolo and Sheldon heading off through the 6 and 7 chicane. They started going side-by-side through 4 and continued it off, now heading down into turn number 8, single file with James Matthew Sheldon, the Spec 2 leader and the overall race leader, holding on to the race lead as it stands at the present moment. Tortolo getting that move done on him to slip his way up into the race lead, and look at that, that's some close quarters. Oh, contact being made,
and there it is,
heading through 11 and 12. It was bound to happen at some point, and that right there, folks, is a lifeline to Jason Green. He finds himself at 9th with Tortolo having to come back to the pits with significant damage on that one car.
Wow, yep, James Sheldon as well. He is dragging a wheel right there. This is Jason Green's eyes just got as big as silver dollars, Ron. He is out there definitely looking forward now. I saw that kind of coming before it happened. I'm like, those lines are going to intersect, and, didn't get on the brakes, and it happened. That is not a place you try to go too wide or make a pass through. I'm actually a little bit shocked that they tried to go through there too wide. sometimes, the skill level just gets a little bit above the actual pay grade there every once in a while, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened, Ron.
It was bound to happen with side-by-side racing through 11 and 12. No fault of both of those drivers. I can't say it's murderer and murderee. It's really just murder and accessory that both of those drivers really contributed to that accident taking place heading off through turn number 11 and 12. Side-by-side racing through really the final half of this track, it's near on impossible. It is so narrow heading through there. In these Formula, I mentioned during the qualifying session early on, these Formula V cars make this track makes these Formula V cars look massive. And that's part of the reason why that's the case. Let's take a look at another angle of this. James Matthew Sheldon leading them coming at turn number 11, down the small low flat out blast through 9 and 10. Now dropping the anchors into 11. He breaks a little bit early, tries to carry the momentum, hits the grass, and bang, into the side. Look at that, the janky physics. They phase through each other, and look at that, spinning like a top as a result of that initial collision. I gotta say, honestly, if the janky Formula V physics weren't in place, iRacing, it would be very nice if you can kind of maybe wrangle these in a little bit. That probably would have resulted in one of those cars flipping and ballparking it on the outside turn number 12. You could just see that angle. Look at Trent Kramer's perspective in all this. Holy cow.
Yeah, that was really never going to work out, unfortunately. It's towards just trying to make the corner, basically. He has to turn in there, or you end up on the grass, and Sheldon's just there. And you can even see, Sheldon trying to kind of, the pucker factor went to 10, and he's trying to delete himself there in the corner, and you just can't do it. You're there, and unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. Let's see if we can't get maybe a look from Trenton Kramer's view here, just one more time. We can see what happened. It really, it's very easy to see that wasn't going to work out going into it, but on board, you just, it's hard to say. Let's see from, unfortunately, there's not really a whole lot that could have been done there, man. It's unfortunate. You just can't get through there too wide. Like, I'm sure it's possible, but we're talking low percentage, times that you're going to get through there too wide without somebody going off the road.
I gotta say, we may need to take a look at another angle of that from Nate Colasio's perspective in the 8 Chiquita Banana car. Quite fitting he's running the Chiquita Banana livery because he slipped by those drivers as they tripped up all over themselves coming out of turn number 12. He went from 4th to 1st in the span of about 5 seconds. We're actually going to count them out right now. You can see heading off into 11 and 12. Let's get ready, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4th to 1st in the span of 5 seconds. Are you kidding me? That shows you how quickly these races could change.
Absolutely, like we were saying earlier, right? One little mistake, barring a giant mistake like that, you're just done. Basically, you're done. You can't, 3 seconds around here is a lot. It's a small track. It's really too bad. We had a really good fight going at the front, but we're just kind of trying to figure out now what Jason Green can get done here, and if he has a chance. It's unfortunate. I'm not exactly sure of the point spread there at the moment. Maybe you can help out with that a bit, Ron, but not exactly sure where he has to finish to take this championship.
Well, as it stands currently, Jason Green, with the spots he's running in at the moment, and the fact that Tortello not only running in P16, he is well farther back from Travis Rail as well. That's, I think the highest that we could see Tortello finish is probably going to be P15. Jason Green, on the other hand, he finds himself in the midst of a hornet's nest. He's got 2 cars right in front of him, so he can make up some more spots. He's also got Ethan Orr right behind him as well, so he could lose spots. But either way, if Jason Green can keep his car clean between now and the end of this race coming up in less than 6 minutes time, he may find himself in a scenario where he can challenge Tortello for that championship coming into the next race at VIR. Either way, no matter how you slice it, I don't think we're going to see the Brit of Tortello leave this British racetrack, his hometown track. I'm not sure if it's hometown track, his home country track of dang, I completely blanked on the name of where we're running at. Cadwell Park is the name of the track.
There we go.
I've been, full transparency, I've been on the air for 3 hours already. My brain has been turned into a puddle of mush. It was also my 64th broadcast of the year. God help me. But as it stands currently, I don't think there's any scenario that Tortello leaves this race with that Spec 1 championship. However, Jason Green, he can give himself a really good shot of giving Tortello a bit of a migraine in 1 week's time.
Yeah, anything can happen out here for sure. That's definitely definitely a thing, as we just saw there for sure. At the beginning, it looked like there was no chance for Jason Green at all, and now all of a sudden there definitely is. Now it's looking like there's very little chance for Tor. So we will see how it happens here. We still have 5 minutes left, just under 5 minutes left now. There's pretty close nose to tail here. We still have some fast drivers, and he's still got to get this race done before anything can be said and done. So we shall see what happens here as we go on too wide, and Jason Green looking up the middle maybe. Nope, not quite. If I was him, I would definitely be looking to just finish this race at this point, even if I did have to lose a position. You never know. You might even just lose it by 1. You might win it by 1. So want to stay clean out there. Make sure we get across the line.
Worst possible time for me to take a sip of water there. Trent Kramer finds himself in the race lead. Nate Colaseo slotted in P2. York Monty, the Masters man, currently riding at your podium in third. There's going to be a heads-up fight between these two for the race win. Trent Kramer yet to grab a win thus far this season in the number 20 car, although he certainly has shown some pace all throughout this season to try and grab some wins. Usually the Aeronet connection has not been on its side. Nate Colaseo already has a win thus far this season, that coming in the second round of the championship at Lime Rock. So, who knows, maybe Nate Colaseo going to be able to do something rather odd, win the second race of the season and the second to last.
Yeah, up front here again. And yeah, it's pretty wild that that's how it has worked out. I'm noticing here actually that our... Oh, nope, it just fixed itself. My timing tower was looking a little strange there for a moment, but it looks like it has returned to normal now, so we're good. No panics needed. We're still nose to tail here. It looks like, Jesus Rodriguez really doesn't want to let anybody by him here. It's getting a little bit difficult. I have raced him more than a few times in a couple different series now, and he's not an easy guy to get around, man. He is going, he's got wide shoulders, doesn't like to get past, and he's going to make it difficult for you. And I think it's going to be pretty hard for these guys to get around him on a track like this without, really making a dive, and it looks like that's maybe what we're doing here. Jason Green just hovering, waiting for something to happen. Maybe not waiting so much anymore, Ron, as he goes to the inside. It looks like he's going to be able to hold that out. Ethan Orr trying to come with him up the inside there. Not a bad strategy. Ooh. We're coming down to the mountain here. This is where things start to get a little tenuous. You can't be too wide through here. And it looks like we are going to kind of single file out nicely. And it's exactly what you have to do right there. So some pretty skilled driving from this crew of drivers here as well, Ron.
Yeah, very skilled driving. These drivers are keeping it clean, but I don't have a good feeling about all this when it comes to seeing Jason Green getting himself involved in all these battles. Granted, these drivers are racers. They're going to give us some good battles to talk about, and they're going to get themselves involved in battles because at the end of the day, as much as we're fighting for championships, we're also just looking to have a good time in reference to the drivers and also us on this broadcast as well. We like to have a good time here on SMB.
Absolutely.
But Jason Green, as much as he's looking to have a good time, I think he should also look to have a good points day as well. And getting as dicey as he has been as of late is certainly making it a little bit sketchy, but I will say, not sure where Trent Kramer is on the race circuit as it stands at the moment. I believe he crossed the line with just enough time for us to have 2 more laps of racing action after this one. Don't believe Barney the Flagman has that white flag in the air. So we're coming up to the end of this race, and the fight between Trent Kramer and Nate Colaseo is going to be intense right to the line. York Monty finds himself leading it in the Masters class. Ethan Orr is your current Spec 2 leader, and from Michelle Lynn in the 215 car, about 5 seconds between those drivers, so not really expecting much there, but I will say, in terms of all of that, the fact that Ethan Orr and Michelle Lynn, who both had their own respective... Oh, look at that, the dive from Nate Colaseo. I was not expecting that into turn number 8.
No
that
way,
completely caught us by off guard. I think that caught Trent Kramer by off guard,
it
too.
Sure did.
How in the world? Holy cow. I was just going to mention how Ethan Orr and Michelle Lynn kicked off this race with their own respective incidents on lap 1, but there we go. Colaseo, the showstopper in the number 8 car, getting this move done. The Chiquita Banana car slipping his way up into the race lead. Let's take a look at this, the dive into the corner. I think Trent Kramer actually overshot the corner a little bit.
You're right.
That's what did it.
Yep, you're right, Ron. I think maybe he just sort of monopolized on something happening there. It looks like maybe he actually got on the clappers just a little bit late, and Trenton got on, just kind of understeered through the corner a bit, and it worked out for him. It's just kind of 2 things happening at once there, I think. And he was able to just kind of release the brake a little more and monopolize on that little mistake from Trenton. So pretty awesome there from a move from Nate Colascio, seeing that coming and just monopolizing on it so quickly. That was pretty awesome.
The white flag is in the air. Only one more lap of racing action for the second to last round of Season 1 of 2025 for the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors. And for Nate Colascio, he begins this final lap in the race lead. Will he end this final lap in the race lead? Trent Kramer got to look to change that around the outside into turn number 4. He gets a move done before they even get in the braking zone, taking the defensive line into turn number 4. Moving over to cover off that line that Nate Colascio was probably going to use to try and get back alongside. Colascio, though, still within striking distance. Trent Kramer in the 20 car, Nate Colascio in the 8, one looking for his first win of the season, the other looking for his second. This is still a heads-up fight between these two drivers. Kramer doesn't want to overshoot like he did one lap ago. He hits the apex beautifully, gets a good exit coming out there as well, but did Nate Colascio get a better one? You can see that gap closing up between these two. Don't want to go the same way that we saw Tortolo and James Matthew Sheldon go through earlier on. That's part of the reason why they're single file heading through 11 and 12. I got a good feeling about Trent Kramer. However, the exit of turn number 17 and that final run through the final corner of turn number 18 certainly going to be nothing to scoff at too. Look at these drivers running the crap out of their tires.
And that's going to be it.
Colascio with the double lockup. That's going to seal the deal for him unless he has a monstrous exit and Trent Kramer gets loose. That's going to seal it. It was close to disaster heading off through the second to last corner, but for Trent Kramer, the number 20 car, he's going to be tasting some champagne instead of tears. Trent Kramer wins it here at Cadwell Park. York Monty going to win it in the Masters category. Got to wait a while for him to cross the line. There he is in the 925 car to win it in the Masters class, and that just about seals the deal for him winning the Masters Championship here for Season 1 of 2025. And Ethan Orr going to be one of the next class winners to cross the line in 7th. It was close with himself and Jesus Rodriguez right at the line. That was a photo finish between those two. Jason Green, though, credit where credit due to him. He ends up finishing this race in P5. Tortolo finishes right in front of his dad, Nick, and ends up in 13th. That right there, that incident between Tortolo and James Matthew Sheldon, that may have just about saved Jason Green's season.
Yep, I think it probably did, and really, really good showing from Jason Green today as well to bring it back up to 5th place, I believe from 19th, as well as Michelle Lynn with the comeback drive there to 9th place after that mistake in the beginning. I believe she was pretty much dead last and was able to make it back to 9th place. So some good driving out there from a bunch of drivers. Ethan Orr as well, you know, after that little incident, able to bring it back up a little bit. Jesus Rodriguez putting on a really, really good showing there as well, holding drivers off almost to the end there and wasn't really able to hold it off totally to the end, but I think we should try to figure out exactly where we're going to burn the cars down here, and I have a pretty good idea where. This is one of the more interesting tracks to burn the cars down on here, Ron. There is a pretty awesome jump coming down this hill, and if you hit it just right, I've done it a couple times, you can actually clear the barrier completely. You sort of get like a gyro effect going, like on a dirt bike in the air, and you can actually lock the brake, tip the car forward, hit the gas again, and land flat. I've actually done it. It works. Maybe not in a V. I don't think it's got enough torque. But we'll see what happens here as we creep slower and slower towards the hill. I think we're waiting for maybe a couple more drivers to kind of bring in the rear here. And it looks like maybe Manny ran out of gas or he's just hanging out, but this is definitely the calm before the storm here. Let's see if he lines it up. Oh yeah, this is definitely what's going on here.
Here we go. Right as you pass it off to me, Josh, Jason Green guns it. Let's see what these drivers do, what sort of extracurricular nonsense they're going to get up to here tonight. Ends up hopping over the wall. Oh, James Matthew Sheldon didn't. Green landed it. That was pretty good. Tortolo finds himself sulking through turn number 11 and 12, the same spot where his race went horribly wrong. We nearly just saw, oh, Monty, oh, he hits the wall. That was not a jump. That was just... and here we go. Let's see these two going for a jump. That's Trent Kramer and Jason Grider. It sounded like I was speaking in tongues a couple of moments ago. Oh, Kramer going for the jump and vaulting over the barrier yet again, and he lands it on his all war.
Yeah, he landed on his wheels. Looks like he's still got drive. It's not turning so well though. So yeah, I was able to hit this. I think it was in the SRF like Jason Green's doing here. I was able to hit it 3 or 4 times before the car actually broke. Which, you know, could be pretty fun. Let's see what let's get an onboard here with him. If you hit this just right, it's my snowboarding days.
God.
Oh, no, he decided to go for destruction instead.
He went for the kill. Oh,
yeah,
I'm not
he
sure
went
who
in
that
for the
was.
kill
Oh.
instead. Not exactly sure. We got
Ladar upside
Ladar's
down.
on his lid. Oh, Grider, we're gonna set one up here.
And let's commentate this
you
like
can
it's
clear it.
Gymnastics. And up in
not
the
quite.
air. Oh no! He lawn darted himself into the barrier. Not close enough. Didn't have the clearance at the end of the day. I feel like we need to familiarize ourselves with some like gymnastic terminology for season 2, because some of these Formula V's, the aerial acrobatics are rather wild. Oh, look at that! Coming in for the
Trying to
assistance.
help him
Jason
out.
Green trying to get Parvin Ladar on his lid. Well, Parvin Ladar still on his lid. Get him off the lid.
There he is.
Well, okay, well done,
Nicely
Jason
done.
Green. Oh, jolting up in the air again with Parvin Ladar's car. It looked like his car was possessed there for a couple of moments, but I
Oh,
can't really judge. I
his
sound like I was
drive's
speaking.
broken
Oh,
or
no.
something. Or he's stuck, yeah.
Oh, he's stuck.
Kicking up some dirt, though.
Dang
That's
it.
pretty funny. You got our new particle system in action there. They're working pretty good by the looks of it. It's kicking out some pretty big grass flakes, though. I'm not sure I've ever seen grass look quite like that when it's getting kicked in the air. But what do you say we look at some results here, Ron, for our final round of the season?
I've never seen grass flakes that big. It's legal up in Canada, Josh. So let's take a look at the results. Oh, boy. Yeah, let's...
That it is. You know what? It's happening again. We can't get the results up for some reason. They are not coming up on this project file. I have no idea why they do that, but you know what? I'm going to pop up we will pop this guy up right here and we'll go off that for now.
Yeah, we'll do that. The WD-40 clearly needing to get breaking at that. That's legal both up in Canada and the U.S. as it stands currently. WD-40. I think the correct term is water displacement Formula 40. God, I wonder what happened to the other 39. Trent Kramer wins this race. Oh boy, Trent, I got the giggles now. Trent Kramer wins this race with number 20 car. Nick Coliseo gonna be slotted in P2 at the end of this race. York Monty wins it in the Masters class and just about seals the deal in that championship, finishing in 3rd. We have Suleiman Khan finishing this race in 4th at the end of the day. Incredible credit due to Jason Green to make his way up into the top 5 at the end of all of that. He finishes in 5th in front of Ethan Orr in 6th, Jesus Rodriguez in P7, James Matthew Sheldon in 8th, Michelle Lynn ends up in 9th, Chris Montgomery rounds out your top 10. We have Parvin Ladar in 11th, Jim Brewster ends up in P12, Tortolo in a rather disappointing P13, Nick Tullo finishing right behind his son in 14th. Then we have Travis Rail in 15th, Jason Grider, and oh Christ, it still continues on. Oh, he ends up upside down. There we go. Alrighty, Jason Grider ends up in 16th. John Tom, yeah, there we go. He gets going by a UFO. Jason Grider, who we see right now, ends up in P16. That card looked a little bit better by the time he took the checkered flag. John Toms finishes in 17th. Sander Robruge in P18. Antonio Reese in 19th. Kurt Nunez in 20th. Scott Brailer ends up in 21st. Russell Tucker finishes behind in 22nd. And Guido Marzuki going to round out the 23 cars that took to the start of this race and are classified at the end of it all. But Josh, got some drivers waiting in the interview waiting area, and I'll let you take first dibs on who you want to have a chat with.
Yeah, let's see who we got up here. Who do we have? I think we'll take Trenton Kramer. I think he had a pretty good win today. Let's take the winner first. Trenton, what an amazing race out there. It looked like it was, pretty much going to be, perhaps anyway, between Sheldon at the front there, and it eventually ends up being you and Coliseo. Coliseo with the move coming down the hill, and then you with an even better one to take the win today. How did it happen for you there, man? How'd it feel?
It felt pretty good. The car was trying to kill me at all opportunities possible, so I decided, you know what, just gonna take the slow route, let the tires get up to temp, and I really, this is gonna sound cliche, but I kind of saw it happening from the start. The way that they were moving the cars around and positioning themselves to battle almost every single lap into turn 3, I was like, guys, this eventually one of us is gonna get into contact here. So played it safe, stayed behind for a little while, and when we were going down that hill in turn 12 and I saw them moving around and stuff, I said over the radio, I'm like, hey, this is going to be where the accident's at, so reference this lap, and sure enough, that's what happened. The rest of the race from there was just Nick and I, or I think it was Nate, sorry. Nate and I just kind of working together, playing around and setting some laps, so.
Yeah, we were mentioning the same thing, Trenton, there as well. It looked like they're really, really racy out there. You could tell that that Sheldon and Tor there wanted to win today, and they weren't really super worried about the points. At least from our perspective, they were side by side all over the place. And when they finally did make contact there, I saw that coming about 2 seconds before it happened. The lines were intersecting, and it wasn't going to work out, and you were able to avoid it as well as Ethan Orr there, as well as as Nate Coliseo, and be able to fight for the win there. So pretty awesome action. Did he just catch you out there on coming down the hill, or was that a bit of a understeer moment and he just kind of monopolized on it?
I bet if you go back and you listen to the recording, I said, hey, we're going to try something. And the trying of something was purposefully braking later, so that way he would go underneath me, because I knew we were coming up to the final lap, and I knew that I could take him by turn 3. And that's where you need to make the pass. So I set it up, I played it out exactly how I wanted, and it worked out perfect. So
excellent. Yeah, right on. You could definitely tell that you were planning that one there for the lap, and you made it work, man. So good win today. Is there anybody you'd like to thank out there?
Huge thank you to all the people that we had going out for the draft party last night, in addition to Michelle hosting a separate event for Thursday night. Got a little bit of practice in. I don't typically practice, but it's a lot more fun to practice with friends, get to experiment with some stuff, and definitely get the practice side by side where you wouldn't when it comes to the race, you wouldn't until it came to the race time. So that helped a ton. And then of course Grass Paddock Motorsports for if anybody wants to get into Mini Cooper race car rentals here in the North American area, we have cars now stored in California, car going to Texas, and cars on the East Coast. So anywhere in the country we can service you.
Awesome. Definitely get involved with that out there if you want to get some seat time for sure with Trenton. That is great, man. But awesome win today. Looks like we've wrapped up the season here, so hopefully we'll have you back for next season. And are you going to be at the runoffs in a week or so?
One more race, Josh.
Oh, is there one more? Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Yep,
yes,
we got VIR.
Right, we got VIR left. Sorry, VIR North, one left. You going to be at that one as well?
Probably not. Not a huge fan of VIR, so I might skip that one. But I'm just here for fun, so if I show up, great. If not, then we'll see you guys at the runoffs.
Yeah, sounds good. I like I like the full version of VIR, but the North version's not really my favorite either. But that's nonetheless, we will see you next time out, man. Good win today.
Yep, thank you.
And Tron, while you're still here in the commentary booth, I'm not sure if it's converted over to your side. You got a new name on the Discord, sir. Yeah, I figured you'd get a kick out of that. All right.
I appreciate it. That's a nice little touch there.
That right there was Trenton Nostradamus Kramer joining us in the commentary booth. I'm not sure what sort. I've got my window open. There must be some sort of like weird substance. Maybe someone's burning some trash in the neighborhood, and the fumes are starting to get to my head. Let's bring in Yurik Mani to have a quick little chat with him, the Masters winner at the end of this race. Yurik, welcome back into the commentary booth. You know the drill because you've been in here about 14 bajillion times for all the wins that you've had thus far. So how's the race here at Cadwell?
Kind of interesting and a little bit quiet at the end, but it was all I hoped for actually. Because I haven't done a lot of laps on this track and I'm not so good on it, but I found out I'm quite stable. Not the quickest lap times, but I'm stable. That's good. And I'm not crashing. I crashed a lot in the qualifying. I mean, not in the qualifying, in the practice session. And I just tried to do my laps. That's all I tried to do, and not to, to crash into anybody, and just to survive. And at the end, I got a little bit lucky, gained some positions, and that was fantastic.
I gotta say, an overall podium and the win in Masters class certainly aren't going to turn that down one bit. It's been a brilliant season for you up to this point. I believe it probably already have done it leading up to this race, but we've just about sealed the deal for you winning the Masters Championship here this season for Season 1 of 2025. So I just want to ask you about how this season as a whole has been for you, at least in the Formula V's. Come down for the Formula Ford and Spec Racer Fords, where we'll probably have a chat with you there tomorrow. I'll probably ask you about those respective seasons, but here for the Formula V's, how would you what are your thoughts on the entire season up to this point?
I think, to be honest, I thought like yesterday that season makes up for the horrible seasons I had before. where my luck was completely gone. I was close to finish actually racing. I was really pretty close there. I was so pissed off myself. I didn't had any chance, any luck there. And but this made everything up, and fun is just back, and that's all I want to have now, fun. Not to crush anybody, but to have fun. That's the only thing I really want to have. Regarding the Formula Ford, let's see. Sandford is Solder is going to be one of my worst tracks, so I'm going to try to survive again. And but yeah, let's see what's going to happen. It depends on the track temperature. When it's a little bit colder, then I might be quick. If it's going to be hot, no, I'm not going to be quick there anymore.
And certainly got some good Weekend Warrior shows to look forward to tomorrow here on SMB, all of which you can catch here exclusively on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But Jörg, thanks for joining us in the commentary booth, and we'll let you give the usual thanks and chats out before we let you go.
Of course, to you guys, and to Michelle, even because she met her anvil again, but she catched up quite nicely. So I'm going to shout out for Michelle today.
And Michelle's a very nice person, and she's also from the same city that I am, so I may be a little bit biased. But Jörg, thank you so much for joining us in the commentary booth, and congratulations on yet another win.
Thank you, guys, and have a nice evening.
You as well. That right there was Jörg Mani, your winner at the end of this race here at Cadwell Park. I think we got time for one more interview. Josh, would you kill me if I decide to have a quick little chat with Michelle Lynn? And we're bringing in Michelle Lynn into the commentary booth. Michelle, welcome into the booth, and a pretty all right comeback drive after that moment right towards the start of the race. So happy to talk us through this race at Cadwell Park.
Okay, this is a really weird one because I, in a million years, did not think I would be talking to you guys right now. Yeah, first lap, Parvinder just slowed a little bit, and I ran into the rear of him and spun, didn't take any damage, but went into the grass, rejoined the track literally in dead last. And so I jokingly said, I guess it's a last to first challenge today. And at that point, I just put my head down, and I tried to just put qualifying lap after qualifying lap. Had a couple little scary moments along the way. I had a couple people like Jason Green and Ethan who had accidents also and were behind me, but I literally didn't fight them. I knew how much quicker they were than me. I let them by, used their draft to help pull me a little bit more forward, and just stayed in it the whole time. And then after the race was over, I looked at the results and realized Ethan, I guess, got DQ'd. And I had no idea that I even won. Like I wasn't even driving like I was going to. I thought I was like in 5th or 6th place that whole time. So this is a massive surprise. Anyway, I'm rambling, but yes.
I mean, in fairness, Michelle, I've basically made a career out of rambling, so don't feel bad at all for that. I'm actually looking through right now. That's a little bit surprising to us as well. I guess Ethan picked up some sort of penalty right towards the end. Yeah, 59 seconds back off the winner of Kramer. So congratulations on the Spec 2 win. Well done. And
I know.
Just your second win this season in the Spec 2 category, which is rather funny considering you've been the hard charger in terms of fighting for that championship.
It's been either I do well or I get murdered. It's like one of the two. And the thing is this, like, honestly, I love racing with Andrew. We are the ones like basically battling for S2, and I genuinely want him to win it. Like, I really do. He deserves it. But he's with his grandkids today, so bonus for points? You know, I feel a little bad about it, to be honest, though.
I mean, there's two ways to look at it. From like the series admin perspective here from the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors. It's like, yeah, unfortunate that he had to miss out on week, but in terms of the driver's perspective, it's like, I'll take a bit more of a comfortable ride heading into VIR in 1 week's time.
There's always that racer side of us that's like, more points. So yeah, I agree.
And of course, VIR being the final race of the season, running on the north layout of that track to be a bit more precise. So what are your thoughts heading into the final race of the season?
VIR is one of the tracks I've raced at in real life, and I like the track. But I haven't had the best of luck there, so I really just need to go into that race and survive it and let the race come to me and not push, and just take it easy. This week I'll work on a setup for it, make sure my setup is really good, and I guess that's about. Oh, also I think I'm sponsoring that event, so I'm gonna have to think. I mean, let's try not to run an anvil this time. We'll run something else this time for the.
I wonder if someone could make a graphic of a declawed cat climbing up and just sliding down an igloo. That may be what the doctor orders for that broadcast in 1 week's time. May have to hire a graphic designer for that. I'm not sure what graphic designer would take that commission, if I'm being completely honest. But Michelle Lynn, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth, and we'll let's give your thanks and shouts out before we let you go and celebrate the Spec 2 win.
Well, I want to thank you guys, of course, Slow Motion Broadcasting, Stevie and Jim, of course, and I'm going to thank Jason Green and Trenton as well, because they helped me with that last corner last night during our drafting party, and it really made a difference for me today. So I appreciate that as well. That's about it.
And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that my back and like my legs will no longer be in complete agony come time for the next race at VIR, so I will be able to join y'all on track for the VIR draft party, because I remember doing a few of those earlier on this season. I was like, man, I really want to keep doing these, and then my back was like, haha, and then got to the point where I'm at right now. But Michelle, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth, and congratulations on the Spec 2 win.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
And that right there was Michelle Lynn. And Josh, I'll let you take the driver who was battling for the win, but it did not end up going that way, that being James Matthew Sheldon.
Well, coming into the turn, Torque obviously wanted the position. He wanted to lead the race. So I was like, okay, I'll brake more than I usually would. I'll let him pass. But for some reason, I found myself alongside him coming into that right-hander. So as I was like, well, I don't want to brake because Trenton's behind me. What am I going to do? So I couldn't cut it because it gives like a 3-second slowdown. So I was like, well, brake. And yeah, that's how it ended.
That is unfortunate for sure. Yeah, we were looking there and it just looked, I could kind of see it coming, and I'm like, oh no, that's not going to work out. And you could kind of see your clench factor there, and you're kind of sort of trying to delete yourself on the inside, and it just couldn't happen. Yeah. It's just two cars kind of on the same piece of road, and it looked like maybe there, like, it felt like you weren't going to be alongside, but because of that sort of shortening inside of the track, he just ended up right beside you. And there's really nothing either one of you could do. I think he even tried to respond to it, and there's just nowhere for either one of you to go. So kind of unfortunate out there. But up until that point, you guys were side by side and back and forth. And is that what you guys were thinking today? You really wanted the win today? Or were you looking at, just whatever happens, happens?
No, I wanted to win. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I got pole, so I was like, this is probably my only chance for this season at least to maybe win. And if not a win, then at least battle with Tor, finish well. It'll all be good. It was all going so well, wasn't it? It was all going so well. And
it really was, yeah. We were watching, we were having a great time watching you guys up at the front going back and forth, and then unfortunately it just kind of ended in disaster and kind of gave it to the guys behind you. But we do have one more round coming up here into, I believe it's VIR North, the short layout there. I'm not sure if you've ever raced around that. Are you looking forward to that one? Are you going to be joining us, or how do you feel about that?
I love me some North layout, so yeah, I'll definitely want to give that a go. Because I was worried that that's the full layout. If it's full layout, then completely different. I don't want to race. But luckily it's a North one, so yeah, I'm going to practice just like I did this week and try again.
Awesome. Yep, yeah, totally. I'm actually a pretty big fan of the full layout. Not that bad, but it's not too bad either. The North layout's actually not too bad. Doesn't feel super tacked on like some of the other ones do, but that should be an interesting round for us, and it will be the last round there. Will be joining us for the runoffs after that as well?
Excuse me, I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay, well you'll have to check on, here,
He's
I'll
a newcomer,
let Ron fill
Josh.
you in. No, let Ron fill you in here, go for it.
So at the end of every single season, James, here in the Weekend Warriors, there's the Week 13 runoff. So not this upcoming Sunday, but the Sunday afterwards, once the iRacing season comes to a close, there's going to be the Week 13 special edition, and we're all just going to have a good time. No one knows what track we're going to be running at either until the session pops up, so usually just a good way to kick back and relax and have some fun to bring the season to a close. So hopefully we'll maybe see you on track. You may have to ask some more of the people in the Formula Vee Discord server about how to get up and running with that.
All
Yeah,
right,
there's
I'll
a
see
few
what I can
sign-ups you need there.
Right, okay. Sounds complicated.
Yeah, there's a sign up there. You sign up to it, and I believe it's 3 races that day as well, 3 different disciplines. So we will be doing the V's, the FS, and the SRFs. And we don't let anybody know what track it is until basically the last minute. So everybody's kind of out there practicing, and then they go. Usually a big grid and stuff too. So just fill you in with that anyway, and our viewers as well. We'll be doing that in a couple weeks. You can check Slow Motion Broadcasting for that tile and what time it's on and everything there as well. But as we wrap up today here, James, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to thank obviously you two, great broadcasters.
Thank you.
Jim as well, admin, and also Tor for maybe not being angry at me, but I'm not sure because he hasn't said anything yet.
Tor doesn't
I
seem
hope
like
he's
the
not.
kind of man that holds grudges. He's a big
No.
smiling fellow most of the time, and I'm sure he'll forgive you for that one, James. He's a consummate
that makes
racer,
me
and
feel
you're
even
giving him a
worse.
good race. So yeah, fair enough. I'll pile it on there for you. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have.
Oh,
Yeah, but
man.
yeah, it's
I'll
been great
just-
watching you guys fight, and I'm sure we'll get more of it soon. So
All
pretty
right,
excellent.
Thank you. Hopefully. Thank you. I'm going to cry myself to sleep now. Bye.
Have a good one, James. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye. See you later. Bye.
And that right there was James Matthew Sheldon, who at one point was contending for the race win, but things didn't really go to plan for him in the second half. Hope to see him at VIR in 1 week's time. Josh, only one more race left to go. Looks like the Masters class is squared away. Spec 1 and Spec 2, though, that's going to be a real good championship battle running around that oddity of a racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a little bit of a strange one. I think I took the SRF around there last season, maybe it was, or maybe the season before that, and it's just not a bad track. I don't think I ended up finishing that race potentially, but it's not a bad track. It doesn't feel super tacked on like some of the others do. It is fairly short. It's a pretty short lap, but in the V's, they're not quite as fast. So, in the SRF, we were just clearing laps so quickly, and 40 minutes of a track that small just gets a bit of a mind bender. But definitely looking forward to it here with the V's for sure. We're getting such good competition out of these cars and these drivers. It's just every race is awesome. Doesn't really matter what track we go to.
Yeah, always getting some good racing action here from the Weekend Warriors. I will say, Josh, I think I do know that you have been a part of a race like that in the past. I can't remember what season it was, but this sounds bad. I do distinctly remember you getting taken out on the first lap. So that's all I remember of a race at VIR North, but that's still going to be a fun track
Story
to
of my life
visit
these
in
days.
just 1 week. True. That's kind of sad. Let's switch to some more lighthearted fare and talk about all the stuff coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. On Tuesdays at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the action from the American Muscle Series, those old Mustangs running around some very cool racetracks. You can catch Josh on the cameras for that one, and our old Weekend Warriors pal, Mr. Randall McGrew, who's going to be out this week on commentary for that as well. You can also stay tuned 24 hours after that for Wildcard Wednesdays here in March Madness of 2025. The Ray Esports Club Racing League on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship. They're coming to the end of their season as well. That's at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But then come time for the weekends, we have got you covered in terms of racing action. The Weekend Warriors, we got the Formula V's that you just saw every single Saturday at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then the Formula Fords at 12:45 Eastern on Sundays, followed 2 hours later by the Spec Racer Fords. That's not even it, though. In terms of the action on Sundays, as in fact, you got the action for the XSLR series on Sunday nights. Gonna be taking a 1 week break this week, but you can catch all that action sporadically on Sundays from now all the way through to the start of the summer. But as for this broadcast today, I believe that will just about do it. And so, for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on today's broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not-too-distant future.
one of 2025. Let's see what sort of adventures that it has in store. And pace cars way through the corner. That wasn't the crest doing him dirty.
There right off the beginning. It's something you probably want to monopolize on right away, honestly, in a rain race.
Involved in that as well. Godin, I believe, is a newer racer. Oh, that's a big crash coming out of the corner. Renaissance mentioning all of those racers that... way through the field. We saw him have that off-track moment not terribly long ago, and he has come back from a... And oh my god, that's a big wreck coming out of turn number 4. Multiple cars around. A little bit of contact going to Chris Montgomery as well. I saw that car kind of jerk around a little bit through that corner, but you can see Montgomery maybe got to size up a move on Coliseo, as Coliseo may try and get a move on. At that is 5-6 cars covered by just about nothing on this racetrack. Nearly 4 wide through the corner. Look at Coliseo going in way deep into turn 5. He's got to lose out on that spot on Chris Montgomery and maybe Coliseo. Too long contact being... Weekly Formula Vee Weekend Warriors crash him up wreckfest at the checkered flag. May God have mercy on both Josh and I's graphics cards because the event does...